Okay, guys, welcome back. Welcome back. So now we're going to look at to what extent are sales leaders embracing AI technology within the sales function, and how is this benefiting their organization? Bringing back to the stage for the third time today, Mr. Red Stafstrom.
Hey!
Thank you, buddy, for all your help and
course,
support
dude.
today, jumping in for the people that had some problems. We've got Dr. Patrick Oehler, CEO from Retorio. Hey, Patrick.
Yeah, it's
How you
morning
doing?
here. So good morning.
Yeah. We've got Manuj Aggarwal, the founder of TetraNoodle Technologies. Is he here? Oh, no, we're putting the wrong person. That's Jard Robin. I was like, Manu, you changed your look. I was like, wow. Okay, so that's Jard Robin, co-founder of RevGenius. Is Manu in the stage? Is Manu back here? Hey,
Yeah,
Manu.
hi.
Yeah, all right. Okay, that looks more like Manu. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I would kill to have Jared here for sure.
Yeah, man, that's Manu Adjoa from. And the last but not least, we have Jochen Roef, CEO of Tracie. Hey, Jochen, how are you, sir? I'm really pleased to see you. I was getting worried that you told me that you was in ER earlier today.
Yeah,
this week. Yeah, I'm glad that you can make it. Thank you very much. Okay, guys. So listen. So just to kick off this debate, I want to just quickly run through this question. Everybody just give their response to this question. How are sales leaders embracing AI technology and technologies, and how is it benefiting them? And then we take it from there. Yeah. Okay. Who would like to start? Who'd like to kick off? Red, as you're already warm, maybe go on. Let's give these guys a chance to warm up a bit.
Yeah. So, for me, like, I'm really seeing us moving towards a point where companies are going to move more and more towards that Jack Welch idea of the corporation on a barge that can move country to country. And AI is going to be a major tool for that outsourcing. So I see that becoming more of the standard where they're just going to move wherever the tax advantages are. So that's my initial thoughts, at least.
Okay, so when you say outsourcing, what roles and specifically are we talking about?
Like, again, we talked about it in the last panel. I see a lot of the more robotic SDR, the chatbot, the things that are already moving into chatbots. I see those really moving towards AI in the next handful of years.
Okay, Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two ways to look at this. One is what is currently being done, and one is sort of where the market is moving, right? I think if you look at what's currently being done, AI mostly is being seen in some little helpful tools. You see more and more heads of sales using video transcription, and using AI to generate more data, documenting processes, and so on. I think we're more and more seeing more and more sales leaders adopting AI really as a strategic way to move towards the future. You see more and more technologies influencing behavior of salespeople, looking into success patterns within existing sales teams, looking at what worked in the past and trying to predict what's going to work in the future. And then sometimes going a notch further and really trying to influence behavior and teach people to be better salespeople. But this is something that's slowly starting. So I think the adoption here is still not that high yet.
Brilliant. George?
Yeah, so I'm excited for AI, but I think it's a complement to people. I think what's going to cut jobs is efficiencies, different alignments that are out there that can be done with or without AI. AI today is a phenomenal tool that complements sellers, marketers, etc., to do their jobs quicker and more efficient. I think they'll double down on that. I don't think it's nearly as mature today as it needs to be, and in 5 years it won't be. I was in AI 10 years ago, and I could tell you with certainty in 5 years it won't be. It won't be to the point where it's replacing people. But I do think efficiencies and whatnot, and AI can help serve up those efficiencies. Sure, to say sales dev should cut hiring, should be aligned to marketing. Marketing should do these activities and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm open to that type of stuff for sure. And AI could definitely be the root of that.
Okay. Manu?
Yeah, so obviously AI is going to make everything more efficient, but the other side of the AI is to also understand the market very, very well. So hyper personalization, understanding what each individual wants, rather than saying, okay, one size fits all. AI will really help us say, okay, this person wants a red colored T-shirt, this person wants orange colored T-shirt, and the technology will be there to really serve everybody. So that'll make the sales process much easier, because now we are catering to a particular person in a very specific manner.
Okay, I think that's a really great point there, Manu. But we're going to come back to that. AI is a hyper personalization, because I'm seeing this a lot. But is it really? And then I think that's the question I'm going to come back to. But before we do that, Jochen, please give us your opinion on this.
Well, I really believe in the concept of augmented sales, augmented recruitment, and this really means machine and man really teaming up and having more information earlier in the process, and being able to work with this information in a very personalized way. And I think in the next 5 to 10 years, humans won't disappear from the stage, nor in sales, nor in any other profession. But I do believe that people will have to reskill themselves, being able to use AI and still add value as a human being. If you see it, and it's a bit of another example, but if you see also in marketing and copywriting, what today is possible when just typing in a few topics and you generate a very interesting blog in a matter of 10 seconds, well, then things are going to change from a marketing, sales, and other perspectives. And
Definitely.
I think the challenge is how to adapt as a person to be able to still add value.
And I think you've touched on a really great point there, and I think this is really kind of, without really understanding it, this was really kind of the ethos that's trying to come out here. How can we create that, tech and man as a service, and I think that is a really, really great theme for this. Thank you for your point here. I just want to, so let's just take a step back to Manuj's point. I mean, we talked about, they talked about AI and this hyper personalization. I mean, this word has been a buzzword for for literally a couple years now. Now, I actually put this to the test. And Red also put it to the test this morning. Yeah. And even I read when you did your thing, I without, before even knowing, I thought number one was the better one, and which was actually your own personal copy.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this as well myself, so I'm using a lot of AI tools, copyright tools, email marketing tools. And I found that despite whatever the AI's tool, and it can generate some very, very interesting content in a very, very fraction of a second, and not only that, it's inspired me to to actually develop my text and how I'm writing. But still, my emails and the things that I'm writing to customers is much more successful and penetrating than the AI stuff. So is this AI, is it really this hyper personalization? I think, are we really giving AI a bit too much space, and tech a bit too much space here? Or where is this? What's your opinions on that?
So,
I'm playing devil's advocate, really. Sorry, guys.
The writing, the idea is that when we just talk about the writing tools or the content generation through AI, that basically is a tool to help you write faster or think of ideas faster. It's almost like saying, I can use a pen to write my thoughts on paper. So it's a tool. Without the pen and paper, I will still have those thoughts. It's not going to replace the human as the driver, right? At some point in time, when AI becomes as powerful or more powerful than the human brain, it will be able to surpass that and generate new things. But right now, the humans are the drivers right now.
I'd also like to say that me and you and everybody else on this panel are outliers. Most SDRs don't have the skills that we have when it comes to writing, and AI is still catching up to that. So when you're looking at your typical SDR who's middle of the organization, AI is going to outperform that person, but it's not going to outperform people like us in many ways.
That person's copying and pasting, so of course it's going to outperform them.
Yeah. But that's the idea is, yes, AI can surpass a vast majority of SDRs who are copy pasting, who aren't taking the time to attend conferences like this, who aren't reading books, who aren't practicing their craft. And that's where I think the biggest risk is that bottom 50% of an organization.
Okay. What's your opinions, Patrick? You're actual. This guy's a doctor in behavioral psychology.
Yes.
Guys.
For the bragging rights. Yeah.
I'm going to bring you in a lot, Patrick. You're not getting away from this one.
I mean, generally looking at what we're seeing out there is, I mean, the technology you currently have out there, what they're trying to do is match human skills, right? And quite often they're still a bit behind. I mean, the main benefit they have is they're cheaper, they're more effective, they can be scaled more easily. I think what we are seeing now and what's happening more and more is that AI becomes more and more creative. We see it especially in the art world, where first AI technology is starting to win art competitions, right? And I think it's just a matter of time when text creation moves in a certain or similar direction where you will not really feel the difference between text created by you or an AI anymore. But this is still a few years ahead, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Jochen, go on.
So, yeah. Well, I think there are two sides to it. I think personalization, the one side is knowing where your customer or your potential buyer is at and where in his buying stage. And this is already a very important piece of information. Is this person not even problem aware, or is this other person already solution aware? This is a very different stage, which will make that a diverse message will be sent to the one person and the other person. Then the second part is trying, and I think this is also Patrick's domain, and we're in the domain of NLP and natural language processing, and trying to replicate the natural language of the person you're talking to. And for many people, that's just the cherry on the cake. Like, okay, I know this person is a very big extrovert, and he's talking to a very big introvert. Well, the language is going to differ. And what we see is AI is already pretty good at mimicking that personality or that behavioral style. But the salespeople or the SDR still aren't trusting, because when you're an extrovert yourself, Leon, to give an example, and okay, I'm writing an email to an introvert, and I let the AI do a suggestion, you're going to be like, what a crappy email is this? And your energy is going to, like, when pushing the send button, you'll be, oh my God, I hope this will turn out all right. So because you don't resonate as a person with what the AI is creating, the energy drops, and what is cause and what is effect. So I think technology is still improving in mimicking these kind of very specific traits, but also the people need to learn to trust the machine and have their energy as high as
okay, sorry, this is hurting me.
Just keep in mind, right? Like the real game changers, you now can send this personalized email in Japanese without speaking Japanese. Maybe it's not on the level of a native speaker, but the other side will understand it, right? You suddenly can start doing business in markets that were completely out of reach before.
Okay,
you just don't want to get on the phone with them.
Okay. Yeah.
No, actually, I recently was in a live video call with a Japanese executive team, and they live translated the call.
You can. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. So listen, I think that there's three things here. And I'm very surprised that you guys haven't mentioned it. So when we talk about personalization, let's break this down. Now. What is personalization? So to personalize something. So yes, okay. I think it's understanding what their situation is. Okay, where they are in the buying cycle. You mentioned that. I think it's understanding their personality. So in terms of mimicking them. But what about this empathy? And I think there's one piece that is missing, and that's why, for me, it's hard to understand what a person is feeling, and that is a part of personalization, is it not?
Yeah, I think there's personalization and relevancy. While relevancy doesn't tell you how they're feeling per se, it might tell you what business situation they're in right now. So you can make some more often than not accurate assumptions based on that. Like, hey, I see you're hiring. I saw your numbers are this, A, B, and C. As an advisor for Humantic, which is an awesome AI-based personalization tool that tells me the personalization. It tells me the type of the buyers. Leon, I don't know if there's anything that tells you how they're feeling today, like that. But theoretically, AI could say, I saw Jared in New York was on a 4:40 a.m. conference. He in the last 365 days, he's never been on any public facing 4:40 a.m. thing, right? Like using different data points. Understanding it's Friday and maybe seeing like Fridays my conferences are less or whatever or things that I do. It's all about the data points that you can gather to make a prediction, right? Like to make an assumption. Like AI and machine learning and everything is based on entering in the right data, right?
Yeah, so or like knowing that somebody's been ill or been sick, and okay, look, so you're not going to contact them for the next 2 or 3 days because you know that they're sick, and you know that you might have to step in and take on a bit more of their workload because they're sick, and having that kind of
the challenge there is there's so many edge cases like that, and you need so much data to make it. Like, hey, how many? I need to look at 100,000 people that have been sick to like understand roughly how they do it, and I need to wait. Everybody's sick roughly once every 9 months. Like you're not gonna learn fast enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one major difference which I'm seeing here, or the major differentiator between humans and tech, is that AI, no matter how much it can learn and how much data there is around, it still relies on data. And there is certain things that we as humans, we take for granted that we know this because we have been through this situation ourselves. So we don't need to put it out there, that, okay, I was just in, sorry to use your example, Jochen, I was just in ER on the weekend. So please don't contact me because, I need to rest and recover. But yes, I also know that you've got a conference on Friday, so I need to help out and to give that extra layer of support to Nana, your marketer, to help you to make sure that you're prepared for this. I'm not going to write that in the thing, and I don't know if AI could actually get to that point, or Manu, you're an AI expert. This guy's an AI expert, guys. He's one of the leading experts in the world on AI. Please tell me, where is the future of this going? And where?
The thing is that if we look around, we are all becoming very interconnected. So real-time information is being collected through our smartwatches, through our IoT devices, and all that. Now the thing is, these data points have not been integrated so far, but it's not too far in the future that everything will be integrated. So things like what you're talking about, real-time information. Today, I can get a very accurate credit score on a person without checking the credit bureau, by looking at their social feeds, by looking at the public data that is available right now, right? So you can imagine that within a few years, the scenario you're describing about whether I'm sick or not, or whether I attended a conference, will be available and integrated into all these systems. And that's where personalization comes in, where it will also have a notion about my preferences. Even though I'm sick, I'm like a Elon Musk who doesn't take an hour off. So fire away that email, no problem. Or Jared wants to have his weekend, so just hold off on that. All this will be available in an email application that we use every day. These things are already happening right now. So when also when we talk about empathy, I believe AI is never going to get to that empathetic level because computers are not. There is no code that can say, okay, empathize with another human. Now, one thing I will say here is when quantum computing becomes mainstream, then all bets are off, because if you understand quantum mechanics and all that, it may be actually able to get into our soul, if you will, and be empathetic towards us. So all of these things are in the realm of possibility, and they are not too far. So yeah, I mean, I hope that answers the question.
No, it does. Go on, Jochen, go on.
Well, if I can just add to that, because it reminds me of a project that we once did with a big bank, a Belgian bank, but a very innovative bank, and they had a big data science team, and they were able to predict, based on your bank account and where you spend money and what was the last time you used your credit card on that boulevard, they could actually predict your estate, your wealth, even if it was even if you had money in other banks and invested, they could easily predict the exact amount that you had over all banks and whether it was interesting to call you. So this data science team, and it's a bit scary, but they did brilliant targeting. So they were looking for people having more than 2 million on their bank account spread all over other banks. They were brilliant in calculating through AI whether it would be a target, yes or no. But what they found was that there needed to be another component, which we call tailoring, because you can have a brilliant list made up by AI saying, hey, these are perfect targets. But then if you don't personalize the approach, it actually backfires. Like, hey, we have calculated some data and we think you have 2 million on your bank account. You're like, what? How did you know? Please get out of my life. Yeah. But if you don't tailor that approach to the personality and the person receiving the message, it actually is pretty dangerous and it's a two-cutting knife, and it's a very sharp knife.
And I think that this touches back on a point where you mentioned earlier, which when I cringe, was this trust. How much should we trust the technology? And I think that there has to be there has to be a kind of a level of intellect there where, I have put copyright in there into, and I use a copyright tool all the time. I've been doing it for months now, put stuff in there, and I'm like, okay, and it gives me 3 or 4 suggestions. And the likelihood is, what is it? I pick out a couple lines out of each suggestion and I'll create my own. Now, it's not to say I don't trust the system, but it doesn't understand the insights I have that I know that is not going to be relevant to that person, or that one sentence could backfire. Does that make sense? What do you guys want? Do you agree or disagree? Or I mean,
it's like, it's like any other technology. When cars were invented, people were scared in getting into the car because it may explode or something along those lines. But over time, everything gets better, right? So, and the other thing is, humans are always scared of the unknown. So we are entering into this uncharted territory right now, and as people get comfortable, we will get used to it. It becomes second nature. The fact is that all communication is going to go through a filter of AI. Even right now, we are on this platform right now. The underlying traffic is being monitored and optimized through AI, right? So we are all sitting in different countries, and we are on high definition cameras. It's all the traffic is managed through AI right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Go on, Rev.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I just wanted to talk to one thing like that Manu was saying with teaching empathy is possible to computers. Like I teach people empathy all the time, and I tell people, if you want to learn more empathy, start reading more fiction. And I tell them that because fiction gives people, when you're reading a good fiction book, it gives you the internal thought process of what they're going through in one of the hardest parts of their lives. Once AI starts syncing up with those data points, there's a good chance that it does learn empathy the way humans do. So the same way I train people in empathy, computers can be trained.
Just to add on this, we use our AI to train people in empathy. You can use algorithms like ours to predict how a person is feeling, what kind of personality a person has, and then you can put this knowledge back to the salespeople and record them on video, analyze their behavior and help them reflect on their behavior and help them figure out what is the right behavior for a certain situation. Right? A lot of people have a hard time doing that.
Yeah, definitely. I think okay. I mean, I think this is really great. That the audience don't really know. I mean, we've got Jochen. Yeah, obviously, you've got a solution which is actually can read the soft skills from. So using AI technology to read the soft skills. Patrick, the solution is again, like understanding your behaviors and actually like you said, teaching these soft skills, you know what I mean. And Manu is a AI solution about process optimization, and I think it's really quite nice. And then Jard, I mean, you just work with every AI software platform there is out there, you know what I mean. So it's just you guys. I think it's a really nice mix. Okay, right, guys, let's try and wrap this together now. Where so in terms of like kind of where we now, where are the I mean, we've talked about kind of where are the gaps, and is there anything more that we need to kind of delve on that, or is there anything more that we want before we move on to stuff? Because I want to see how we're preparing our customers, how we're preparing for the future, for what is to come. We know there's a big recession coming. We know that there is, there are companies, especially in Germany, Russia's just cut off all the gas lines. That people are going to be dying, from cold and starvation. You know what I mean? We are going to go into one of the worst periods this world has ever faced, and companies, especially startups and SMEs, which are the lifeblood of the economy, are going to suffer. How can we protect these companies, and how we help and prepare these companies for what is to come through the use of AI?
Well, one obvious thing is, cost cutting is helped through automation. So there are pros and cons to that. People will lose jobs, but on the flip side, the expenses will come down when companies try to automate their operations. And for people who are on the fence, it will be a really good time to upskill themselves and get to learn these technologies and find opportunities, because with every challenge, the flip side is a new opportunity. Right?
Yeah, definitely. Anybody else?
I think the use of data in general is very interesting, right? And that's what feeds AI. I remember Malcolm Gladwell, part of his book, where he was saying like court cases predicted by data versus by a judge. The data was right far more often than the judge was just listening to the trial, and that's and data is the pipeline into what AI is, right? Like it feeds in. So it's super unique. I'm just, what we don't think about, we're thinking about like in the SaaS and like how to empower and do our jobs better. And there's a million use cases, most of which keep people in work unless it's not efficient or effective to have them there. It's not going to take over your job per se. It's just going to tell you that your job isn't needed anymore.
Change it.
To Manuj's point, like, hey, we don't need you. But what about like the content world, where everything you read on newspapers and everything becomes AI? Those people are probably the easiest to displace. And they're the most scared right now. From an art perspective, art isn't there yet, but everybody wants to create buzz that it is. And like the art space went from classical art, mid-century, like pop art, NFTs. It's gone downhill drastically. They don't give a shit and you have to feed in other works, and then there's the whole thing, the copywriting thing, because you're feeding in other works that have already been done to create something new to base off of it. At what point is it actually original? Or and that's going to be a big argument. I think those spaces, like, geez, what if you replaced your content team with just AI? That seems pretty easy. But I digress. Like, those are the spaces that I'm really intrigued with, because I think the content world is going to be really, really affected by this.
But I think that leads on to another, because I think, okay, so let me put it to you this way. A year ago, 2 years ago, LinkedIn, I used to read, like when I used to follow certain people, and I used to literally spend it and read the content. And I used to be really engaged with it, because I follow these people for a reason. I want to read their content. Now I'm getting so bombarded with content. I've just become blocked. It's become like a mental block. So I think, like, I don't know who's it, Manuj said that with every problem, comes a solution, which then creates another opportunity here. So what you've just said there, Jad, is that yes, right, yeah. Copywriters, they probably are worried because all their jobs are, potentially, could be replaced by AI. But I think ultimately, it probably won't, because at some point people are not reading or digesting content the way they were 2-3 years ago. And that
is a person going to solve that? People just need to come up with more stuff. And then the person that solves it, is it the same person that originally wrote it? Or is it Manuj who's now optimizing everything? To be honest, that original person's gone. They're blown way over their head. A sandwich, I hope, somewhere.
The thing is that the more automation, the more AI takes over, things like creativity will and empathy will become more valuable. Yes. So yes, the copywriting business may be affected, but the point of copywriting is to get attention. Now, if there is a ocean of text out there, there will be other opportunities to grab attention, meaning it could be graphics, it could be video, it could be audio, so humans have always tried to be creative to figure out, okay, what is the next step. So technology is going to force us to look for that next level. The danger is to say, okay, copywriting has been the one thing that has generated sales, so let's just stick to copywriting. But if we think beyond that, there's going to be another concept that maybe we cannot even think of right now, which will be out there to grab attention. That's all it is, right? Say, copywriting is to grab attention, to say, hey, this is for your benefit, right?
Yeah. And I think that's a really great point of this human instinct, our man's will to survive, that is stronger than anything else, any technology out there, that we will survive, regardless of what you put in front of us. We will find a way to overcome it.
But what happens when it becomes quantum? right? Like, and what happens? No. Like when you're like, this whole panel is AI now, right? And now Manuj AI is telling me how AI is going to do it, and it's just like, you're smarter than me.
I think the direction, like if I'm counseling somebody like how to adapt for the coming, again, I'm not going to say AI apocalypse, but the idea is we have to get better at networking person to person, in my mind, because content generation, when I was doing my research for my talk this morning, Spotify, I think 9.8% of the songs on Spotify are now created by AI. So it's something absolutely insane like that. So when we're talking about creativity, like music is now being generated by AI. The only way we can grow is by moving smaller, creating deeper connections with the group around us. And that's how I see us evolving beyond AI.
Okay.
Well, one thing I will add here is, guys, in my honest opinion, the paradigms that we have been living with for centuries, they are going to break down. So, you know, the things that we are saying that, you know, the normal way of doing business, the normal way of having these panels, the point is to disseminate information and learn from each other. But when quantum computing comes, when when AI becomes more powerful than human brain, there will not be any incentive for us to learn. The education system will not be relevant anymore. So when I say creativity and empathy will be more valuable, it will be a totally different way of expressing that in our world, right?
Yeah.
What I think AI is still not capable of and will not be for the next coming years is really, and it sounds a bit vague, but transferring energy. And especially in sales, when you can have everything lined up and predicted, and this person is going to react like this, and the timing is perfect, and you should add these elements to your messaging. But still, it needs a person to convey the trust and build and transfer the energy. And we had an interesting experiment, and it was kind of a side experiment with our own technology, because we normally predict the behavioral traits of certain groups of people in the context of recruitment, but we started using our own technology in the context of sales, and we had 3 salespeople having their best clients identified and then analyzed on behavioral traits, and actually you saw very clearly that the most popular buyers were linked to the personality of the seller. So we could actually predict that, and to use that in the most efficient way sales-wise is just to say, hey, we've analyzed this prospect. You better, as a person, you go and approach this. Don't go mimicking or don't try to copyright as this person would read. No, bring the right people together and let the human magic do that. And again, that's for me an example of augmented. AI can bring you a lot of information on different levels, but it's the human that needs to, it's the person that needs to work with that and use his personal energy and empathy to get things done and to get things moving. Yep.
And I think that's very, very interesting that you brought that up. I mean, I didn't recognize that, because this is the second or third time I've heard this in this, not for over this conference, you know, because there's a couple of other technology providers who are actually involved in this conference, you know, Common Thread are one of them, and they said that their technology actually analyzes the buying persona and the sales persona and actually marries those two up. Now, and I was like, for me, it kind of like brushed off my shoulders, you know what I mean? Okay, this is a nice point, you know what I mean? Like, why did I brush off my shoulder? Because for me, and I was doing this example with Nana actually. When we look, I remember when that Challenger Sales book came out, you know what I mean, a few years ago, you know what I mean, and it showed the different personas of the sales guys, you know. Do you know what I did? I actually went and trained myself in all of those different sales personas. Yeah. so that I actually went and studied what are these different personas, how do you train yourself in those, so that I can actually become a chameleon, whatever, depending on the situation that is required, I can be that persona. No, pardon?
So it's funny that you mention it, because that's basically our core business nowadays, is to teach salespeople to basically mirror the personality of the person they're dealing with, right? And this can be trained very easily. In the past, you had to buy in expensive coaches, like in big organizations, you had to fly them around the world and hope that their trainings work. And nowadays, you can just basically invite people to take part in online video simulation trainings and train them to take those personas, and that's becoming a huge business now.
And how successful is that? Do you find that anybody? I mean, you've put a lot of salespeople through this training program.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm talking directly to specifically you, Patrick. You put a lot of salespeople through this training program. Is it that everybody has the ability to be able to mimic any persona, or is it just that? Because I think then we're looking at a certain caliber of intelligence, or maybe intelligence is the wrong word. But I mean, there is a certain caliber of skills that's required to do that. I don't think what I do, any Tom, Dick, or Harry can come in and do that.
I mean, first thing, from the data, you start learning who actually can do that and who can't, right? Which is very crucial data that you can also transfer into the hiring process. I mean, that's part of the business, in a sense, to help companies figure out who they need to hire in the first place. But of course, even with the people you have on board, that there will be superstars that basically can do that, and there will be people who can't do that. But you can at least help people, get the self-awareness and identify their strengths and weaknesses, and help them. First of all, a lot of people don't even understand what personas they're dealing with. That's something that can be taught rather easily, right? There's certain cues that you can pay attention to, and that's something you can train. Finding the perfect behavior is a little bit more difficult, right? But you can move people towards certain role models, right? And what we usually do is we try to identify, certain role models within a certain personality group and say, well, maybe you're not going to be the next whatever Barack Obama in terms of your speech capabilities. We can't get you there, but we found somebody who's a little bit like you, but he's doing it a little bit better than you. Try to orient yourself towards that person, right? Talk a little bit more like that person. That's something you can train.
Okay. Well, that's what, I did the same thing when I did it with DISC personality training, and that's changed my sales career in such a way by being able to understand those different personalities and how to speak to that person based on what they prioritize. So understanding that the D personality, the I personality, like what each person is looking for, and become that chameleon. That is something that I teach. That's one of my favorite topics to teach, in fact. And that's part of why I do, I'm such a huge Ninja Turtles fan. I use the Ninja Turtles for discs because it's something that just resonates with people in so many ways.
I think it's very interesting that we all 3 or 4 people here. We're doing very, very similar things, but we've approached it from very, very different ways. I mean, my whole topic on approaching this subject is culture. Understand different cultural diversities, understand how their psyche, how they think, and actually working out how to engage with different cultures. And that has led me on to this train of developing the different personas. Patrick's done it from a behavioral psychology perspective, Jochen from from a recruitment perspective, and understanding the soft skills required for recruitment, and Red, doing from an emotional intelligence perspective. So I think it's very, very interesting. So are we saying then that, or could we kind of, the new salesperson is going to have this, multifaceted, kind of chameleon approach style? Is this a new, I don't know. I'm trying to put words.
I'm going to say the modern, that's what we should have been teaching for the last 30 years, and we haven't, is what I'd actually say. The new salesperson should have learned this a long time ago, and we just never did. Instead, we trained on the standing room only close.
And I think let's not just say the salesperson. I think every human being should have been taught for the last 30 years. But I think what will happen is now it will become more accessible to people. It's almost like wearing an accessory to make you aware of all these personalities. So if I have an add-on to my brain and say, okay, now I understand different personalities, so AI will help as a tool to expedite that education.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
It's just maybe to add to this, I think the new salesperson might not be able to mirror every client personality, but the new salesperson will understand when to pass on a deal to a colleague who has a better chance of closing it.
Yes.
I really believe in that approach also. And I think the new salesperson needs to be a very intelligent and very open person, I would say, to be able to integrate all these different kind of layers of information and not be offended by them. Because I used to work also for a company called Showpad, and they actually had real life transcription of sales conversations with sentiment analysis. So you can actually see in a call whether your prospect was more turning red and be offended or more attracted to your product real life by NLP and sentiment analysis. I saw a lot of people saying, I switch that off. It just annoys me. I'm a great salesperson. I can sense when I'm doing a great job, which actually isn't that the case always. Yeah. But people who are open, okay, this person is really turning red, so the interest is decreasing, and topics or bringing in another question and then turning back green. So being able to process all this information live, being open to that, not being offended, your ego, like I'm such a great salesperson. No, I think it's a very complex.
And you know what? I think this is very, very interesting because when I look at this, they say something that we have this evolution cycle, so that we start at the basic, we go round, and then it comes back round on itself. And this is what I'm seeing again. We're coming back to the basics. What is sales about? Sales is about serving people and about helping people. And if you have that mindset, then there should be no problem you as a salesperson handing over the lead to the next person who's better suited to do the job. And this is something that I have really tried to do in my business SMC over the last couple of years. And I think when you think about this, I spoke to all of you about when trying to entice you to come here. And what was the words that I used? Competition. It is about an SMC. What is SMC? We're a company of 150 odd partners, but that's my strength. Actually, it is actually my strength. I can do leadership consultancy. I can do pre-sales. I can do all of that stuff. But I choose to just focus on one little bit, and the rest of it I give it out to different partners. Not because I cannot do it or I haven't been doing it for the last 10 odd, 15 odd years. It's because it's not my core strength and it's not where I'm going to add the most value to the customers. Yeah. And I think if we as a society can move towards more that kind of model, that, hey, you have a community of different experts and, we all working together to solve the customer's problem.
Yeah.
Then we've changed the game and adding value. And this is what
goes right back to the networking point. Like, it's all going to be about the networks that we build, the close connections we build, as opposed to just spray and pray. You make 3 times the calls, you'll make 3 times the sales kind of tactics.
Yeah. I mean, the salesperson has got to forget this selfish persona, this backstabbing and this boiler room kind of thing. That is dead. It's about working together. It's about, win-win deals, and I think we've got to get back to that. Patrick, you seem like you want to say something. Sir.
Yeah, no, just reaching back to the discussion from before. I think those people who fail to find that focus and find that niche that they focus on, those are the ones that step by step will be replaced by AI, because there is no market in the future for mediocre copywriting or for mediocre sales jobs. You will have to focus on something that you really excel at, everything else step by step will be taken over by the machines.
Yeah, I think it's even, for me, this even goes bigger than actual salespeople. We're talking about companies here. I'm talking about organization at an organizational level. I think as an organization, if you have that thing of where, you know what, we just want to do, we're just doing this and this, and if you're not interested in buying this and this, we're not interested in talking to you, then forget you, mate. You're gonna die by the wayside, because I think a lot of this is about having strategic partnerships, to survive this recession. What kind of partnerships do you have? On my own, we can achieve so much. Together as a community, we can achieve so much more.
Absolutely. I think that's where we are going. That's where we are heading. Like if you look at history, humans evolved as very, very small units, living individually in the caves, fighting over a piece of meat or animal or food or whatever, and then slowly started to coalesce into bigger and bigger communities. Right. Eventually, now we are nation of billions of people. The human evolution is actually going towards cooperation, and technology helps that, because technology makes limited resources available to more people. When there are very limited resources, then we all fight with each other. But when technology enables us to share those resources and the resources become abundant, we inherently become more cooperative.
Okay, wow.
I want to add something. We're looking at, you bring up the point community. The most effective way to sell today is through community.
Yeah.
And it's always been the most effective. But now people are noticing it even more. We could throw AI, and AI will help. So there's 1,000 emails coming to this decision maker. 15 of them have AI. Maybe they're better. Who the fuck cares? Like, to tell you the truth. Like think about the big thing. Like, you got me in the field. It's not even getting delivered to my fucking inbox. Okay, so forget that. And it's still annoying the same. Trust is the root of everything. Okay, trust is why we're all here on the panel. We trust Leon. We trust the community that he has. Right? If we didn't, you wouldn't be here. It's a fact. Yeah. Right? Trust is why we'll connect or not after, build relationships. Trust is why you have a 7-step interview process that's now 1 to 2 steps, because you got a recommendation from that person.
Yeah.
Anybody who says that they have a bypass from a recommendation from that person's full of it, and you know it. Like trust is everything, and you buy from people that you trust and you listen to them. So that's community, and the idea of community. That's why LinkedIn has grown. It started as another channel to sell, right? Like another channel to do the same email to here, but now it's evolved to content, putting out content value. And heck, people aren't even talking about the product they sell anymore, right? They're just dropping value, or what they perceive to be value, and the good folks are recalibrating without AI or with to understand what people want to see. But this builds trust and connection. I saw more posts in the last 24 hours to help support a major company's layoffs than I saw about trying to sell anything. And I'm pretty sure you all would probably be in that same role. I know Red for sure, because we're in the same geography. We have a closer network and all of that, and then the people to help, and those people are putting other people in the game, and there's a reason why to get a job, it's not applying with the perfect application anymore. To get a sale, it's not sending the perfect email anymore, or even something in the mail. It's showing up in dark social. It's showing up. We've heard that phrase, unattributed. It's rooms that foster word of mouth is what dark social is, that are unattributable, unalgorithm driven. How funny is that? The most effective rooms, now not at scale, but for our own interactions, are non-algorithm rooms.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, and that's something like I love what we were talking about when we were looking at like cavemen and growing into these massive societies. Like I talk about anthropology a lot and the Dunbar principle and actually shrinking our field of vision down to something that's manageable of 100 people or so, because we can't manage these massive, like we can't talk and pay attention to 1,000 people in our CRM. So by shrinking into these dark social networks and WhatsApp chats and all of those other things, we're able to sell so much more efficiently because we shrunk it down rather than thinking macro, we thought micro.
Definitely. No, this has been a very, very interesting debate, guys. Very, very. We've got 5 minutes left. Yeah. So quickly, you know, I think we have
got a question.
Huh? Pardon?
Got a question. Question.
Who's got a question?
In the chat.
Oh, so Susie's question. Okay, so love the comment about AI being creative. What dangers are there about that this creative side of AI will be abused? Okay, I mean, I'm not sure. I think we. I did see that earlier.
Well, students plagiarize. Absolutely.
That's going to digress now. I just want to just quickly tie up, just quickly. So, just our leaders, you know, we got our leaders out here. We're all business leaders. What one thing that you had to say to advice to give a business leader about, you know, who's fearing for the future, and relative to AI, relative to recession, what one advice would you give your customer? Just everybody just go through, give me one piece, one statement. Go on, Red, kick us off.
Okay. Emotional intelligence. That's the leader right now. For like in the near term, the past, it's always been the leader in so many ways. Really focus on training that. And I know Patrick is probably going to mirror this point quite a bit too. Understand those soft skills, that emotional part of your customers, your employees, and yourself. That's where you focus.
Brilliant. Thank you. Patrick?
Thanks for making that point for me.
You stole my point.
You stole it.
That's perfect. But yeah, I think it's really about trying to find out what really works for you, right? I think the problem most leaders have at this point, they don't really know why some of their people perform so much better than others. Like really look into the behaviors of your people, try to find out what works and try to replicate it with the rest of the team. I think that's what it's all about.
Brilliant. Thank you. Jod?
Yeah, I would say understand what's broken in your organization, truly and deeply and honestly. You're at a time where you need to be real. Empathy won't solve every organizational problems. So be real with that. Be real with yourself and be level-headed and cool. Like level-headedness is a superpower in these difficult times. Be objective, be pragmatic. But know about AI and the other technologies and see how they can help you, you know, survive and then thrive.
Cool, brilliant. Thank you. Manu?
Yeah, I will say, you know, most leaders are not paying too much attention to AI and data science. It is almost like, you know, at the start of the Industrial Revolution when some people said, okay, I don't want to use machines and I'll just use manual labor to run my business. So, you know, you will be at a disadvantage if you don't pay attention to these because the competition is just going to take over.
Brilliant. Jochen?
True. I think standing still is the most dangerous situation for business leaders at this point, and fear and rejecting based on fear, I think is the worst. And don't be foolish, don't be naive, but test things out. And even if you don't have experience with certain things, test it. Do A/B testing for a short period of time. If it doesn't work, please don't do it. If it works, be open to it. But yeah, try to break the status quo, because I think this is much more dangerous. And as Manuj says, then you're going to be outperformed by your competition and not by the AI. People fear AI. I say you don't need to fear AI. You need to fear your competitor working with great AI. And this is the person who's going to run you out of business, not the AI. Yeah.
Honestly, that's great. I mean, I think for me, one of the major takeaways I've learned from this is that AI is still a support tool. It's an enabler. It is not. It is not. You should not be looking at it to take over and replace. It is an enabler. It is a support tool, and I think moving forward, what is the real advantage that any company is going to have is their ecosystem, is their community, the ecosystem partners, the other things that where a company, I mean, I think we didn't talk about this, but that topic of globalization is still very, very real, guys, that companies want to come. Why is Amazon? Why are these guys doing so well? Because it's a one-stop shop. They come to one place and get everything, and I think, this is how we, as startups and small businesses, we need to have these communities where, so I love your what you've done, Jard, RevGenius. You can come to one place, you can get everything, you get this, you get everything, that you need. And I think that is about partnerships, it's about community, it's about working together, it's about cooperation. Thank you guys for your time. It was really, really great speaking to you. Lovely getting to know some of you guys in a more deeper level. And I'm sure we're going to speak and catch up more later on during the day. We're going to have a quick 10-minute break and then we'll be back after for the last debate of the day. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.